Hi there, everybody. Steven from the Aroundtable. Thank you so much for tuning in. And in today's episode, I'll be talking about one of my favorite releases from a glam metal band during the grunge era. The 80s were a lot of fun, a lot of party bands. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. I love that era. A lot of people do not like that era and cringe about it. I thought it was just a fun time. If you forget about the hairspray and the lipstick and all, there are a lot of fun songs, a lot of entertaining albums, and I love that era, and I stand by it 100%. But in the 90s, there came out these small little words, smells like teen spirit, and the lipstick and the hairspray came to a screeching halt. And a lot of these bands that I grew up with or that I loved couldn't get on radio if you paid the radio station $1 billion. Would not do it. A lot of bands fell by the wayside. Some bands tried to ride the grunge wave by releasing a grunge sounding album. And some guys just disappeared. But one band in particular did something very unique. And it's one of the last bands I ever thought I would say that about. Because I know some people are going to say, like, really? These guys? Seriously? This came out in 1993. It is a soulful gospel blues revivalist kind of album from a glam metal band. And that band is Poison, and that album is Native Tongue. A little bit of a backstory. Leading up to this album, Bret Michaels, the lead singer, had in his head he wanted to go a little bit more bluesy now on the next album. CC DeVille, founding member and guitarist, said, "No, he wants to do the party rock, continue this way." They're butting heads. CC's also, experiencing issues with substance abuse, and things implode. They get rid of him. He either gets fired or he leaves, whatever the story was. They bring in Richie Kotzen, known, at that point he released about 3 albums. He was getting known as a fantastic soulful singer and an amazing guitarist, a blues guitarist. He comes into the band. They create this album. Now I'm thinking when it got released that it's going to sound, either they're going to keep on going with the party anthems or they're going to do like some of their guys and try to sound grunge. And this is neither. This album is not classic Poison. It's not grunge. Like I said, it's a gospel, soulful, blues revivalist kind of album. It is that different. And they have no other album that sounds like this. There was no album from an 80s band that sounded at all or remotely like this. This is so different. It was very refreshing, but it had an uphill battle. First of all, like I said, grunge had taken over by 1993. They were all over video stations and radio stations. You couldn't get a song from Poison on the air if you gave them $1 billion. That's never going to happen. Secondly, probably there was a backlash with CC DeVille being removed from the band, because at that time, like as I mentioned in a lot of other reviews, if an original member leaves, a lot of the followers of that band just wouldn't continue with the band, or there would be a lot of pushback. Kiss struggled during the 80s without Ace and Peter. They suffered and they suffered. Van Halen, either you love the Roth and don't like Sammy Hagar, or you like Sammy Hagar and don't like. Very rare. I like both eras, but there's always 2 divisions. It's not the original Van Halen without Dave, and he shouldn't have gone on, and yada yada yada. So with this, they were expecting backlash, and I think there probably was. But then, of course, there was the grunge era, like I said, and this album is quite long. It's about an hour long, so you're changing your sound drastically, and you're pushing the listener into this hour-long journey where you have just taken everything that we know about Poison and thrown out the window. But I love this album. Like I said, it's so different. It starts off really interesting with this tribal beat for the title track, and then leads into this thumping of a rocker called The Scream. Then there's Stand, which is like a gospel song. I love that song. I still play this song to this day. There's a great ballad called Until We Suffer Some, Fire and Ice. I love it. Body Talk and Bring It Home, I think, are solid rockers on here. Theater of My Soul is another beautiful ballad. I think the only one I'm not too crazy about is Bastard Son of a Thousand Blues. It's kind of a ripoff of another song from Poison, so I kind of thought it was like a ripoff, so I've never really gravitated to it. Blind Faith is another one, very soulful rocker. Like I said, Richie Kotzen brought this soulful vibe to him into the group, something really unique. They've never sounded like this again. They've never come close to sounding like this. There's never been another Poison album that remotely sounds like this. So, if you can get past your preconceived notions of what Poison is, you might find yourself really enjoying this album. This is a really, really good, solid piece of work. Maybe a little too long. I would have removed a couple of tracks here and there, but that's me. Do yourself a favor. If you grew up in the 80s, and I know Poison invokes this thing, oh, they're just a party band. I get it. I understand. And believe me, I was on that boat too. I took them as a party band. This is the album that kind of went, there's a little bit more to these guys. A little bit more. They got some musicianship. They got some chops. They can write some decent songs. And there's no real party songs on here. Maybe Body Talk. It's a sexual song, but after that, the rest is, if you didn't know it was Poison, I think you enjoy this album. So like I said, get rid of that preconceived notion of what you think of the band and just listen to it on its own merits, and I think you will have a great time with this. So do yourself a favor, search it out. I think you will be pleasantly surprised, especially if you grew up in the 80s and you knew Poison and you didn't hear about this album. Give it a go. I mean, usually Stand is on a greatest hits package. So if you like Stand, I'm sure there's a lot more to like on here. So do yourself a favor, search it out. It must be on Spotify or something. And let me know. Share your thoughts down below. I'll try to post a couple of songs. You let me know what you think. Have you ever heard of this album? Do you just hate Poison? Never liked the glam metal band years? That's fair. Let me know. Love to hear your thoughts. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. This is Steven from the Aroundtable with my favorite glam metal band album released during the grunge era and its native tongue by Poison. See you soon, guys.